found yourself asking, is this really it? Even after landing the job you work so hard for? If so, you're not alone. In today's episode, we're talking about the courage to pivot into entrepreneurship and what it really looks like to follow that inner pull towards something more. My guest, Jen Dye, has made a bold shift from a career in physical therapy to launching a thriving creative business as a Pinterest marketing strategist. Her story might sound like your own. It's also going to inspire you if you're on the fence into jumping into that business. And not only that, but she's also going to teach us about the power of Pinterest. And I guarantee it's going to have you rethinking how you show up and get found online. I'm Jennifer Koch, your host of Main Street Success Stories podcast. I've been an entrepreneur for over 25 years, and I created this podcast to share others' journeys to help you learn, grow, stay motivated, and know that you're not alone in this game called entrepreneurship. I invite you to listen in on my conversation with Jen Dye. Welcome to the Main Street Success Stories podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Koch. I've been a business owner for about 25 years, and now I'm a business coach. I actually turned my first business into a franchise and successfully sold it after owning and operating it for 20 years. I prioritize building a business while also building a life and love working with the creative entrepreneur. I mostly work with emerging business owners who desire growth. They are in their first 5 years of the journey and want a plan that's going to help them succeed for years to come. They're tired of not getting paid enough, feel stuck, and want more for their business and family. If you are a business owner and you're feeling stressed about how to attract more customers, you have a really good sales month, but then you look at your bank account and wonder where the money went. You look at your financial statements, but if you're being honest, you're not really sure what to do with the information. And you just tell yourself, if I work harder, it'll fix all my issues, only to feel exhausted and never see things improve. You're here because you want to build your business, but you also want to build a life that you love. I invite you to learn more about one of my 3 coaching programs designed to help you earn more and stress less. You can choose which option works best for you. Imagine this. You have a clear plan and momentum, and you're gaining more clients every week. Your revenue climbs by 20% or more. You save 5 hours a week because you know exactly where to show up. You're experiencing double-digit growth in your profits. People refer customers to your business because they understand exactly who you help and what you do. If this is you and you desire more, reach out, let's have a conversation, and you can click in the show notes below. Hi, Jen. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm great, Jennifer. How are you? It's a great morning.
It is. I know. Well, for some of us, we're here in West Michigan, and it's first day of spring when we're recording this, and it's snowing outside. Yes. But that's Michigan for us.
Same. Yeah, I'm in West Michigan too. Yeah.
Yeah. Part of the reason we love and hate Michigan. Anyway, Jen, you have a business called Level Up Business Creative, and you are a specialist in Pinterest. You're a Pinterest marketing and content strategist. Yes. How long have you been specializing in Pinterest?
So I started in 2020. So I'm going on almost 5 years. If I think back when I started, it was in the spring or summer of 2020 is when I started. I started out initially thinking I was going the VA route, but I niched into Pinterest because I had done some blogging before. I had figured out ranking, Google, all that fun SEO stuff. And so Pinterest was a natural fit for me.
So what were you doing prior to 2020 before you decided to launch your business?
So I had been a physical therapist for 13 years, and I had spent about 10, almost 11 of the last part of that career working in the community hospital that we have here. And as you can think back that at that time, there was a lot that was going on. And even before a lot of the crazy things that happened in 2020, I had already started wanting to shift into running my own business. And I had already started making the steps of moving from, at one point, being the holder of the health insurance, working full-time, kids in daycare full-time, to slowly stepping down into a part-time role when things started shifting in 2020. And then starting my business was that step to just being free to be home with my kids.
Okay, so let's go back to the emotional aspect of you said you were already wanting to shift into being an entrepreneur. Any idea where that little bug was coming from or where that desire came from?
Yeah. So for me, it had started when I had my first daughter and wanting to be home. And kind of being in this situation where it wasn't quite possible at that time. So I had been working for a couple of years before I had my first daughter, and so I still had student loan debt. I still had to, felt like I had to stay in the career that I chose, and it was just one of those things where I just wanted more freedom. I knew there was something more. It's like, when you you check all the right boxes, you stay on the right path, and I had worked to a point where I had actually gotten the dream job. And that was one of the, I think, pivotal moments where I got there. I got the job that many other therapists just don't even get a chance to get. And I found myself asking, is this all there is? Is this it? I still felt the stress. I still felt the weight of the job. And it was just climbing the ladder or finding those other opportunities within that employment setting just wasn't right for me.
Isn't it interesting how we kind of go through this thing where, well, once I get there, this will be better. Once I get there, then I'll get there. I'll finally achieve it. And that's interesting that, you had worked so hard, went to school for a long time to be a physical therapist. That's no joke.
Right.
And like you said, you thought you finally got to your dream job, but something was just quite still stirring in your soul. Something wasn't quite settled enough for you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, so a lot of times people jump into entrepreneurship based on their experience. Like they'll take what they were doing and create a business out of it. You completely pivoted into something really creative. Mm-hmm. Where did that come from?
So I had always, and this is another funny side story too, is I initially, when I was starting in college, and I started in a community college, and I was going for a marketing degree. So I was going for the creative side of things, but I couldn't, I kind of, again, went the route of where I knew I was going to end up getting a job and a career. And either way, I still loved working with people and the human aspect side of things. But the creativity part came in. I had, like I mentioned before, experimented with blogging. I had always loved to write. So I had written and did things in school, published for the school paper before, and had always really loved being creative and the writing aspect of things. So I experimented with blogging and had built a blog not too long after my first daughter was born, and had figured out this whole Google and SEO thing and ranking and how to monetize the blog passively. And that was my first aha moment. So when I shifted into entrepreneurship, looking from a Pinterest angle, it brought in all of those things, the content side of it, the creativity side of it, the SEO side of it, the analytical side of it. So all of those played really well together. And I still think from the skills as a physical therapist, we're trained to look at, the patients that we serve and see the bigger picture and create more of the strategy that they're going to follow to hit their goals, to hit those milestones, and kind of lay that path out for them. So I see that happening very similarly with the client work that I do, helping them to see that bigger picture and lay out that strategy or that path for them.
And I think that's so fun and interesting to hear you say that, no matter what people are doing today, whether they're an entrepreneur yet or they want to take that leap, what you're doing is preparing you for the next step. And it's interesting now that you've got the 5-year view of being in the Pinterest strategist, you can look back and say, you know what, that physical therapy work that I did actually prepared me for this moment. How cool is that?
Mm-hmm. It's very cool, to look back and see, because we all want to, it's easy to say, well, I wasted so many years just being in the wrong place. And I like to put the spin on it of no, all of that taught me and got me the skills that I needed to make that leap and to, I guess, approach Pinterest and marketing in my own unique way.
Right. Oh, that's so cool. What was your blog about, by the way?
So it was funny. It was a blog about horses and showing. So we have horses. I've been involved in horses and riding and showing for most of my life. And so I was like, if I'm going to start a blog about something that I'm passionate about, I'm going to start it about horse showing. And I just kind of followed some trainings and went through the daily creating of content and just had fun with it.
Oh, how cool. And once again, another stepping stone to help you launch your business.
Yeah.
So, what a really cool backstory. And thank you for sharing that with us. So, it's 2020, and you had said you were thinking about being a VA, which for those that haven't heard that, that's virtual assistant, where you are basically, not basically, you are the back end of online businesses. You're helping, with all the things, especially solo entrepreneurs. And I have a VA, love her, couldn't operate my business without her. But for some reason, you decided not to do that. You decided to jump into Pinterest.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's talk about Pinterest, because I feel like as business owners, we tend to dive into I don't know if you want to call them the big three, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're all told that's where we should be. That's where we should show up. That's how people are going to find us. My personal use of Pinterest, I go on there for recipes, and I go on there for, DIY home projects. But I'm noticing there's a buzz about Pinterest lately. Tell us what's kind of happening in the world of Pinterest here in 2025.
So Pinterest, it's one of those platforms that, yes, we go on it for inspiration. So many of us as entrepreneurs, like we think of it in terms of our own personal use, but Pinterest is really pushing in it. One of its biggest missions all along has been to connect users on the platform with the things that they're searching for. So even though like you or I will go on, we'll use it for personal use, inspiration, home decor ideas, recipes, things like that. Also think on the other side of the pins from those recipes, from those home decor ideas, there's typically a business operating on the other side of those pins. And even from an entrepreneur perspective, like think of it in terms of what your ideal clients might be searching for. What problems do they bring to you? What are the common phrases that they use, or concerns, or pain points that they use when they come to you? And think of how they might approach Pinterest if they were searching for a solution on Pinterest. So that's the biggest move, is as we look at social media, there's a lot of shifts and changes with all the platforms. And Pinterest is, always continuing to update. But one thing that stayed tried and true with them that I've seen over the last several years is their big mission is that connection, and it's in creating that quality of connection, so that you being on that platform as a business owner, if you're publishing content there, they're wanting to connect you with the people that are searching for what you have to offer. And as long as you're putting value on the platform, and you are delivering on what your content says you deliver on, and you're getting people that are starting to engage with your content, Pinterest is going to only show your content more and more to the right people.
And I feel like that's key, and I think we really need to hone in on that, is that I love how you said Pinterest's mission is to connect us. Because there's a feeling with Instagram and Facebook and other platforms that when you put links to your website, when you put links to your lead magnet, when you put links to your services, your content gets buried. The algorithm doesn't want you, the fear of, oh, you're going to leave my platform. But what I'm hearing from you is Pinterest is encouraging that. So that is a really, really huge benefit for a business owner.
Yeah. And if you think about it too, users, since Pinterest came to be in 2010, users, when you open up that platform, you're expecting to leave the platform. When we go to Instagram and Facebook, we're not expecting to leave. Like, I know if I'm on Facebook and I'm watching something, I just want to watch it in my feed. I don't want to click and go somewhere else. But users are trained for that. So that's another benefit of having content on the platform, or leveraging the platform, is that the people you're connecting with, they expect to search for something, find it, and then click to the resource, whether that is a blog post that you're creating, a podcast episode you're creating, a video training you're creating, or you're just giving them that initial first step, the tips that you can give somebody that would walk through your business doors per se on that first day.
What a breath of fresh air Pinterest is. I love
Yeah. Yeah.
that. Let's talk about from the business owner's perspective, who can really thrive on this platform? So when I think of it, and I'm probably incorrect in this thinking, I'm thinking more businesses that are business to consumer.
Yeah, it's definitely both.
So it is geared for business to business and business to consumer.
Yes. There are nuances whether you're B2B or B2C. So if you're a business to consumer, yes, there is a higher proportion of maybe people, consumers actually using the platform. More and more, however, business owners are on the platform too. We are still utilizing it. We are still going to it for ideas from a business perspective. But again, it's determining based on what Pinterest can kind of guide you as well to determine what your people, if you're in the B2B space, what your people are searching for, and it's really honing in on the right search terms to use across the board. So I will say there are nuances between business to business and business to consumer, but it's how you leverage the platform, the keyword part aspect of it. And if you're B2B, you kind of have to appeal more to the business owner, the entrepreneur side of the same person who may also use Pinterest for personal, use as well, being the consumer. So it's just making that subtle shift when you're setting up your strategy.
And I can see how that is probably the key to it is that strategy because yes, I'm a business owner. I maybe am going on there for personal reasons, but if a smart business to business, organization out there is marketing properly, it's going to catch my attention when I'm searching. Okay, so for instance, fitness studios, is that a great platform for them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Local businesses. What about like boutiques, local boutique, brick and mortar?
Yes.
Great
Yep.
platform. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
When I think of maybe marketing businesses that are, they do your social media or they do your website, is that a place that they could thrive?
Yes. Yeah. Again, it's all about thinking of the business that you own. And again, there is nuances with local businesses. There'd be more local targeting that you would do on Pinterest versus like online entrepreneurs that help more with the marketing aspects, copywriters. I've worked with copywriters, graphic designers, and it just is how you would think in terms of what your people would be searching for.
Okay.
And where they would be on that journey. So even if we're looking at like a health and like a fitness studio, for example, yes, the studio is a part of it. So then you could create content that would market directly to the location, to what the business offers, to bringing people in for people that might be searching in that local area. They're further along in their customer journey versus somebody who might still be considering whether or not that fitness studio or taking classes would be that next right step. It's creating content for them over here while they're still deciding on what their next action is going to be. But in that process, you can still build that know, like, and trust with them as they're working towards your solution, that solution, which would be that fitness studio. Or same thing with a marketing business, somebody that's a copywriter or graphic designer, is they might not be ready to hire somebody, but what would they be doing a little bit earlier on in that buying journey?
So a lot of what you're saying is like a lot of people go on there kind of with the DIY mentality, and if you capture them there, you're going to kind of grow with them a little bit.
Initially, yeah. So you can it's all about determining where you want to meet them, where they're at on their journey.
Okay.
Versus making that shift and also targeting the people who know they want the services, who know they're ready to make that purchase, they're ready to take action. So that's kind of a couple of different ways to look at it, and you can definitely build like that email strategy on the back end if you're capturing people a little bit earlier in their buying journey.
That's really a great point to make, is I think a lot of times as businesses, we forget that piece of it, what the customer's thinking, feeling, and we try to project what we can offer, and it's all about where we're at in our journey. And I love how you shifted that. Think about where your customers are. Who's your ideal customer and what part of their journey are they in? Because that's going to make your messaging so much more tailored to them. And I feel like a lot of us who are in the first 5 years of owning a business and we're just trying to appeal to everybody and we haven't quite figured out who we want to serve yet, we are throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks. And what a very strategic approach you're taking to really meet them at that customer journey. That's really, really eye-opening. I love that. Okay, so basically what I'm hearing from you is any business can do well on Pinterest, even a business like myself, like a business coaching. So how do you get started? What are the first steps? And also, are we posting the same stuff on Pinterest that we're posting on Instagram and Facebook? Are we repurposing or not really? Is that not the best strategy?
You can do so. Each strategy is going to be customized, a little bit more customized depending on what content you're already creating. I always like to leverage what clients already have instead of trying to reinvent the wheel right off the bat. Getting started with Pinterest. So if you're like brand new to it and you just want to get a sense or a taste of how you could possibly find your niche on Pinterest or find your, positioning on Pinterest, is to go to Pinterest and, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, is start to think along the lines of what your customers might be searching for. So almost get into the mind of your customer as they come to work with you, as what are some of the first things that they bring to you. And if you open up Pinterest and just type that in the search bar, Pinterest will help guide you. It's almost like they give you like a drop down menu similar to Google. And that's your guidance, where Pinterest will say, if you start to type something, Pinterest will say, well, these are the exact terms that people are actually looking for. And that can help you figure out what people are looking for, what other content is on there. And the getting started piece is just getting an account open, a business account open, and starting to figure out what some of those initial search terms would be, what types of content topics that you are already creating content around. That's usually my starting point with clients, is seeing what content topics they have, what content they're already creating, and then how can we align what they've already got out there with Pinterest. And from a content perspective, as you start to do some of that research and looking into what Pinterest will show you what people are searching for, that's your guide as well to determine what type of content to create going forward. So you can definitely use it for content planning. And then you can also see, again, repurposing some of the longer form content that you have. You can use some of your Instagram. Instagram does connect with Pinterest, but it's also making sure that you intentionally, from the Pinterest side of things, tie it back to something meaningful, so that once that content gets published on Pinterest, it doesn't always just link back to your Instagram. It goes to a place on a domain or a website that you host where you can start to capture that traffic. And if you've got longer form content like blogs, podcasts, YouTube videos, those you can easily create and publish, on your website and create calls to action for, so that as you put pins that direct people towards those pieces of content, you can start to bring in new leads, grow your email list just from the content you've already been creating.
So in a way, you're not putting the long form content on Pinterest. What you're doing is putting a teaser and then the link for people to get the more information, the blog or the YouTube. It's almost like I'm picturing this like major Rolodex of all the things, like this really cool housing Pinterest is almost. It's housing all your information for you in a searchable way. And it sounds like they make it easy. When you start typing in like some questions, they help you fill that. Does Pinterest, like video, that seems to be the buzz with all the other platforms. Do they want you to put short video on, or is it more static posts? What do you see out there that's the best recommendation?
I would say it's always gonna depend on your niche. It's always gonna depend on the content that you have. So if you have short form video, you can publish it onto Pinterest. But it's making sure it links. It has an intention, a purpose. Where does it go to? What's the ultimate goal? Where somebody searching on Pinterest comes across your video, are they going to know what it's about? Are they going to know what the next step is that they can take? Because remember, when you're getting in front of an audience on Pinterest, you're getting in front of people that are actively searching for something, for a solution. And more often than on social media, they're ready to click, take action, sign up, do something next. So that's one area. when it comes to the pins that you're creating, you can, again, testing out static images on Pinterest, like the common typical pins that we see on Pinterest are tried and true. They tend to do great with almost every single niche. So that's usually where I start with clients, and then it's testing the different types of video. If you have a business where you're in an industry that's more visual, I'm thinking of like if you're in any sort of real estate or travel brand or anything like that, or a hotel or a boutique or something where you can visually show what you have, that might do really well on Pinterest because people can see what you have to offer. They can kind of see themselves in that video and that imagery. So it's all about testing, but I usually recommend static images for sure, and then testing the different types of video, whether it's the short form video repurposing or if you're creating some form of visual video content.
And one thing I've noticed on Pinterest in my own personal use is it does seem to, there's a lot that are linking me to shop. But what I'm hearing is that's what Pinterest users are looking for. We're action takers. So we're going on there. So it's a really good platform for e-commerce, for boutiques who are selling e-commerce, for anybody who's selling something.
Yeah, if you are in e-commerce and you have products, digital products or physical products, it's a very, very good platform for you because they have ways to integrate your product catalogs and to showcase the different products. They kind of segment some of the search terms. So if you hit on a search term that's more shop related, where it's a specific type of product or item, there's like a search feature that showcases shop pins on there, where it's like those pins lead to actual products that are linked in your store that people can purchase right from the platform. People are used to doing that, and I've worked with e-commerce clients, and it's a great platform for if you have products and e-commerce.
And other things I've read about Pinterest is it tends to attract a little bit more of an affluent user. You know, the demographics are a little bit higher in their average income, their expendable income, and they're looking for more premium luxury brands. Is that true? Would you say that's really kind of the ideal client, ideal business should be on Pinterest if they appeal to that?
Yes, I would say the users, they tend to be, I think, a little, like you said, more ready to buy, able to buy, have the means to buy, whatever the niche that they're in. So that being said, you can target luxury if that is your ideal client who is looking for. I have clients that are luxury vacations, luxury hotels, luxury clothing. Like if you're targeting luxury, that's one segment that you can focus on in your marketing on Pinterest. On the flip side of that, there still are people that are looking for, how can I do XYZ, on a budget or things like that. That's another niche that you can also focus. So if you do have a business where you do have higher touch, higher level services that cater to more of the luxury side of things, but then you also want to help those who maybe aren't ready for that or aren't there yet, you can also target those keywords as well. But just the user themselves, they tend to have more. I think there was a study on like the effect on like the household income is higher than average than other platforms. So yeah, they're able to make those purchases.
Well, I feel like Pinterest seems to be a really, kind of a new place that we all really should be putting some energy and effort into. I sense when I'm talking to business owners, there's a little bit of frustration with typical social media platforms. They feel like their stuff is not getting seen. They feel this pressure to post 5 times a week. And really at the end of the day, they're not getting a lot of buyers from it. I always say, especially in service-based, high ticket, social media is good because people go to vet you out, to make sure you're still in business, to just kind of see what you're a little bit about, but they're not going to actually hit buy. But Pinterest, I'm getting the sense that people actually go on there to buy, which is what a benefit for business owners. Yeah. So if somebody today wants to get started, you have different packages that help people if this is something they need some assistance with.
Yes. Yeah. I usually start everyone. I have free assessments that I do. So that's kind of that very first starting point, just to help get you started. And in those assessments, I give you my best advice on your next steps with Pinterest. So.
Is there a pressure to post so many times a week like all the other platforms, or just do what you
It's
can?
it's consistency is still the name of the game with Pinterest. It's starting. So when I'm working with clients and I'm helping guide them a little bit on their own Pinterest strategy, it's just like with content, it's figuring out what you can do consistently initially and then continuing to build on that. But that consistency on the platform is what's going to continue to bring more of that traffic. And keeping in mind, every pin that you put out on Pinterest, it's going to have a lifespan of months, if not years, after it gets published. You're going to have some pins that do very well and some that don't. So the pressure to like always be creating, there's simpler systems that you can put into place for Pinterest that makes it a little bit easier to do on a regular basis compared to like social media posting.
I think you hit the key there is the lifespan of your posts lasts a lot longer, and all the work that and time that we put in as business owners into our social. I feel like we need to give, if we're not on Pinterest, all of us listening need to give it another closer look. Thank you, Jen, for really kind of helping us understand where Pinterest is fitting in today's kind of world, not only e-commerce, but also social media platform. I found it really interesting and also inspiring, and you're motivating me to go. I do have a Pinterest page, but I haven't been very consistent. So you're motivating me to go maybe dust that off and start posting on a regular basis. So thank you. And I will put in the show notes links to how people can get a hold of this free assessment, get in touch with you, because I really encourage all of us to kind of think of Pinterest in a new light. It's not just for business to consumer. It's not just for DIY. There's a lot of business you could probably attract by showing up on Pinterest on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate all your wisdom on this.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
You're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience, and today's conversation was a great reminder of that. You know, whether you're pivoting into entrepreneurship or looking for smarter ways to grow your business, everything you've done up until this moment has prepared you for what's next. If you've been overlooking Pinterest as a serious marketing tool, I have been. It's time to take a second look. Unlike other platforms, Pinterest is where people go to actively search, plan, and buy, which honestly is a goldmine for business owners, and to me just feels like a fresh approach to social media. You know, I always just use it for recipes and DIY projects, but after talking with Jen Dyes, I realized what a powerful search engine it can be and how it can really help us with visibility for our businesses. So I invite you to take a new approach, a new fresh look at your Pinterest marketing. If you're a small business owner and your business is kind of stalled or it's not just giving you what you desire anymore, I invite you to learn more about my Earn More, Stress Less program. I love working with creative entrepreneurs, and I've created a 3-step program to help you increase revenue, improve your profits, and pay yourself more. My clients experience double-digit growth. Now is not the time to try to do everything alone. I invite you to learn more in the show notes below. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Keep building, and remember to support your local businesses. They need us more than ever now.